Hi, my name is Yin Gao and welcome to Dr. Gao's classroom. I'm a professional philosopher and I love classical Chinese poetry. I have been translating classical Chinese poetry for the last few years. I would love to share my knowledge with you on the subject. Your enjoyment is my command. In my last 3 videos, I explained what people do to celebrate the Lunar New Year in China. Today, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to resume my talk on poetry and politics in Imperial China. I posted one video on this subject before, where I explained what is the civil service examination or Qian Qi and what it was like during the Tang Dynasty. I also translated a poem celebrating the success in the National Civil Service Examination. I pointed out that passing Qian Qi was extremely important because it played a significant role in constructing the hierarchical structure of the Imperial Chinese society. Once a person passed the exam, he would be able to move up to the ruling class from the class of ruled subject. The purpose of Qian Qi not only included selecting competent scholar officials to govern the society, it also functioned as guidelines for the whole educational system in terms of instilling the desirable values and characters for the potential scholar officials, as well as training them the desirable qualities and skills in the upcoming generation, etc., so that they would be well equipped to be scholar officials once they pass the exam. So today, I'm going to show you one text poem composed for the civil service examination, illustrating what were the requirements for such poems. This is the best known text poem by Qian Qi. My colleague and I have been translating text poem for the last 2 years. We have translated more than 60 text poems so far. We are planning to publish our translation soon. I would make an announcement in my channel when our collection of text poems is published. Of course, if you would like to read this poem before they are published, you can contact me via my email listed down below. By the time I post my next video, it would be the Lantern Festival. So I'm going to make one more video on the Lantern Festival. There are just too many activities people do, so I'm going to talk a bit more about them. I'm also going to translate another poem remembering a romantic encounter by a Song Dynasty poet named Ouyang Xiu. So if you're new to my channel, please check out my other videos on classical Chinese poetry, philosophies, and medical literature. If you like the contents of these videos, please click the like button and subscribe my channel. I also offer one-to-one online lessons on these subjects. So if you would like to read the original classics, please contact me. I listed my email address down below. Now, let's look at the text poem by Qian Qi. We don't know very much about Qian Qi except that he passed the National Civil Service Examination in 751 AD. About 400 years later, a historian from the Central Asia, Xin Wenfang, compiled a book in the title of A Biography of the Tang Dynasty Talents, or Tang Cai Zhi Zhuan, in 1304, which collected a few stories about Qian Qi. According to this book, Qian Qi composed the poem quite quickly in his exam and handed it in to the supervisor before anyone else. The supervisor read his poem and was very impressed. He could not stop chanting it and exclaimed, "You must be assisted by a divine force," and ranked Qian Qi quite high on his list of successful candidates. This story is probably not true because it was reported like 400 years later, but it shows how influential this text poem was. It has been celebrated as the best text poem ever. This poem is about the story of two imperial concubines of the Sage king named Shun. King Shun went to the south to inspect the remote part of his empire around the Xiang River, or Xiangjiang, located in today's Hunan province, and died during the trip. The two imperial concubines, Huang and Ying, heard about the Sage king's death and went to the Xiang River where Shun was buried. They shed so much tears on the bamboo that they left permanent marks on the bamboo stem. So if you go to the region today, you can still find the marked bamboo called Xiangfei or the bamboos of Princess Xiang. After they shed all their tears, they died and became the goddesses of the Xiang River. Let me read the poem for you. 善古云何社，常闻弟子灵。平夷空自舞，楚客不堪听。苦调凄金石，清音入杳冥。苍雾来月暮，白纸动芳心。流水传香浦，悲风过洞庭。曲中人不见，江上树风清。Now let's look at each line. 善古云何社，常闻弟子灵。善 means good at something. 古 means play drum. 云何 supposed to be the name of a mountain where its timber makes the best scissors. So the scissors were named after the mountain called Yunhe scissor. Se, of course, is scissor. Chang means often. In modern Chinese, wen can either mean smile or hear something. Di means king. Zi means children or offspring. Ling means spirit. 弟子灵 here refers to the spirits of the sage King Yao's daughters. That is the two imperial concubines, Huang and Ying. So when you put these two lines together, it reads, I often hear the spirits of the Sage King's daughters skillfully playing their Yunhe scissors. We inserted the pronoun I, which is absent from the two lines. This is often the case in classical Chinese, but it is necessary for English to have a subject. So we think the I is appropriate because the sensory experiences described in this poem make more sense if it is from the first person's perspective. We also reversed the order of the first two lines to make them read better in English. The next two lines reads, 平夷空自舞，楚客不堪听. 平夷 is the god of the Yellow River. 空自 means doing something in vain, so we translate it as doing something for no reason. 舞 means dance. Chu refers to the state of Chu from the Warring State period, or 战国时期. Ke means guest. Chu Ke refers to Qi Yuan, a loyal official of the state of Chu. Due to his defeat in the court politics, Qi Yuan was exiled and composed many songs during his exile, expressing his longing for his homeland and loyalty to his king. The title of this text poem is from one of the poems composed by Qi Yuan. Bu means not, kan means bear, ting means listen. So when you put these two lines together, it reads, the god of the Yellow River dances to it for no reason. Qi Yuan cannot bear to listen to it. The next two lines, 苦调凄金石，清音入杳冥. 苦 means bitter, 调 means melody, 凄 means sad, 金 means metal, and 石 means stone. 金石 here refers to the musical instruments made of metal and stone. The metal instrument is the musical bell, and the stone instrument is called a qing. There are bells and qing unearthed in Hunan province in 1978 from a Warring State period tomb. Qing means clear, yin means tone, ru means rich, yao means distant, Ming means dark. Yao Ming here means the dark sky. The two lines raise. The bitter melody is sadder than the sound of metal and stone instruments. The clear music reaches all the way up to the dark sky. 苍雾来院幕，白纸洞芳心. Changwu is the place where the sage king Shun was buried. Here it refers to the spirit of the sage king. 来 means calm, 怨 means melancholy, 木 means 朗音, 白纸 means white angelica. Dong means to move in most cases, but here it is the result of the movement of the plant which gave out fragrance. Because the line before it talks about the spirits of the sage king were moved by the music, this line also implies the plant was moved not by the wind, but by the music, just like the spirits of the sage king. So we translate it as gave out. Fang means flower, xin means fragrance. When you put these two lines together, it reads, the spirits of King Shun listens with melancholy longing, and the white angelica also starts to give out its fragrance. 流水传香浦，悲风过洞庭. 流 means flow, 水 means water, 传 means propagate. 香 refers to the Xiang River. 浦 means bank. 悲 means sad. 风 means wind. 过 means cross. 洞庭 refers to the lake Dongting. 流水 and 悲风 were the names of the songs played by the goddesses. So when you put these two lines together, it reads, the melody of flowing water flows along the bank of the Xiang River. The tone of sad wind crosses the Dongting Lake. The last two lines reads, 曲中人不见，江上树风清. 曲 means song, 中 means and, 人 means person, 不 means not, 见 means see. 江 means river, song means above. 树, there are two ways to pronounce 树. One pronounced in the third tone as 数, it means count, like 数手指 means count the fingers. But when pronounced in the fourth tone, 数, it means many as in here. So we translate it as innumerable. 风 means peak. Qing is the color of the dye extracted from the indigo plant. In Chinese, the color qing has many different shades, from the dark green as in the phrase of 青山 to the light blue as in the phrase of 青天, or the color of black hair as in 青丝. So when you read the character qing, it could be referring to any of these colors depending on the context. Here it clearly refers to the dark green of the vegetation of a mountain, so we just translate it as dark green. So when you put these two lines together, it reads, the sun ends and no one is to be seen. Above the river are innumerable dark peaks. So the poem praises the two imperial concubines of their loyalty to their king, and also that of Qi Yuan, the high-rank official for the king of Chu. The moral significance of these stories is that no matter how one is treated, one remains loyal to his or her king. That is, of course, a desirable virtue in a candidate. Now, let's look at the topic of the text poem and the requirement for it. The title of the text poem is 赋得相邻古社得灵志, meaning composed on the subject of Xiang River goddesses playing the scissors and rhyme to the character of Ling. The first requirement is that the text poem should consist of 6 rhymed couplets with 5 characters in each line of the couplets. However, during the early years of the Tang Dynasty, this requirement was not enforced strictly. There were also text poems with 4 or 8 rhymed couplets passed in the civil service examination. Gradually, the 6 couplet structure were adopted as the standard in the Tang and Shang dynasties. During the Qing dynasty, the The standard structure of a text poem was 8 rhymed couplets. The second requirement is that the last character of every second line ought to rhyme to the character specified. Here it is Ling. In Qian Qi's poem, the 6 rhyming characters are Ling, Ting, Ming, Xin, Ting, Qing. The character Xin does not rhyme with the character Ling in modern Chinese. I assume it did in the Tang Dynasty dialects. I'm not sure how Xin was pronounced in the Tang Dynasty, so we just take it as it is. The third requirement is about the tone. Roughly, there are 4 tones in modern Chinese, which are divided into 2 tonal categories in classical Chinese. The first and second tones are called even tones or 平韵, and the third and fourth tones are called uneven tones or 仄韵. The requirement is that each character's tone in the first line should be matched by an alternative tone of its counterpart in the second line. That is, even tone in the first character of the first line should be matched with an uneven tone in the first character of the second line, and so on and so forth. As you can see here, the tone of san is the fourth tone, so it is an uneven tone and it is matched by chang in the second tone, that is an even tone character. Gu is in the third tone, so it is also an uneven tone and it is matched with wen, an even tone character. Yun, he are both in the second tone, so they are both even tones and are matched by di, zhi, a fourth tone character and a third tone character, i.e. uneven tone. Se is in the fourth tone again, so it is an uneven tone. It is matched by ling, a character in the second tone, that is an even tone. The parts of speech are also required to match. The character san, good at, an adjective is matched with an adverb, chang. Often, the character gu, to play drum, a verb, is matched with a verb, wen, to hear. The name of the Caesar Yun He is matched with a noun, Di Zhi, the daughters of the king. And the character Se, Caesar, is matched with a noun, Ling, the spirit. As you can see, the requirements for the text poems were very harsh and difficult to meet. This is why all the young boys attending school started their education by memorizing poetry. I mean only boys, because girls were not allowed to go to school. Girls from the politically powerful family did get their education mostly at home from female tutors or very old male tutors, and taught things that would make them competent mistresses. It was only towards the end of the Qing dynasty around 1900 girls were allowed to get the same education as boys. Anyway, the title of the poem were not revealed until the exam started. The candidates would not know what the title was until they started their exam in the isolated exam cells and had to compose the poem on the spot within a given time limit. It was extremely hard. This is a painting for the exam during the Ming Dynasty. It looks quite nice, but the real exam cell is more look like this. I can't imagine anyone doing this today. That is why my colleague and I are translating text poems from the Tang Dynasty so that more people can appreciate the immense talent of the Tang poets from 1,000 years ago. By the time I post my next video, it would be the Lantern Festival. So I'm going to do one more video on the Lantern Festival. There are just too many activities people do, so I'm going to talk a bit more about them. I'm also going to translate another poem remembering a romantic encounter by a Shang Dynasty poet named Ouyang Xiu. So if you're new to my channel, please check out my other videos on classical Chinese poetry, philosophies, and traditional Chinese medical literature. If you like the contents of these videos, please click the like button and subscribe my channel. I also offer one-to-one online lessons on these subjects. So if you like to read the original classics, please contact me. I listed my email address down below. Otherwise, thank you for viewing my video. I'll see you next time.